With the 2023 NFL Draft now well under 2 months away, I have finished my prospect grading and evaluations. With that being said, over the next several weeks, I'll be posting my film breakdowns of these prospects to provide you an idea of what to expect from these prospects and give you an idea of these players and who I think's a little undervalued and who I think might be overhyped. Today, I will be breaking down my number one player at the most important position in football. Today, we'll be evaluating Alabama quarterback Bryce Young. Bryce Young is a clean prospect who I expect to be taken in the top 2 selections of the NFL Draft, with the possibility of being taken with the number 1 overall selection in the 2023 NFL Draft. In a broad sense, looking at Bryce Young's game, he plays the position with a point guard style approach and mindset. His style of play is predicated on getting the ball into his receiver's hands in advantageous positions in a timely manner and within the confines of the offense. Considering the style of play in which Bryce Young prefers to play the game, I believe he's going to fit seamlessly into a West Coast style scheme. West Coast style offenses, for those unfamiliar, are an offense predicated on passing the ball for the most part. It looks to essentially run the ball through the air, and what I mean by that is it replaces some running plays with short passes. It also emphasizes on utilizing the width of the field just as much as it does the depth of the field. Moving on with Bryce Young's evaluation, he's going to be ready to start for an NFL team right away, day one, without an issue. He's not a prospect that's going to need to sit for a game, a half a season, a full season. There are going to be several reasons why I'm going to get into today that he is ready to step in as a team's franchise quarterback day one. He has phenomenal football intelligence and routinely shows the ability to diagnose a defense pre-snap and check protections at the line of scrimmage, check play calls, and identify pre-snap pressure indicators and point this out to his offensive linemen so that they can adjust accordingly. Moving on, Bryce Young, from all accounts, and anyone close to him, he has incredible character, leadership, and poise. Bryce Young is going to be a strong leader and a good face of the franchise for the new team that selects him. He will also have a great presence in the locker room and is going to promote an upbeat culture on and off the field. Leadership is never going to be a concern with Bryce Young. Before I get into Bryce Young's film, I want to provide one singular clip from Bryce Young's tape that I believe best illustrates him as a player. On this play, we're going to be looking at this nice, easy in-breaking route. What makes this play so special, however, is everything Bryce Young does to lead up to the pass. We will see it better from the end zone angle here. From the end zone angle, we see Bryce Young get to the back of his drop. He's going to scan that field. He's going to feel the pressure to his right, put both his hands on the ball while he dips and rips that shoulder to climb the pocket to make sure that he doesn't lose that ball from a strip sack, all while keeping his eyes upfield, looking for an outlet to throw the ball to. Bryce Young, while navigating and climbing the pocket, is going to locate Jahmyr Gibbs on this in route and throws a perfect pass right on his face mask, all while getting knocked to the ground. I believe this play is the perfect illustration of who Bryce Young is as a player, and I will get into explaining why I believe this to be true as the video continues. Continuing to look at Bryce Young, I want to start by looking at one of the biggest question marks associated with him, his size. Bryce Young stands 5 foot 10 inches in height and has a weight of approximately 204 pounds with a slender build to his frame. This has been a concern following Bryce Young throughout the process, and I'm sure this is not the first time you've heard this being an issue. I want to break down why this is being viewed as an issue, though. The chief concern around Young's size is not necessarily his height. While the height is not ideal, the concerns revolve more so around his weight. At 204 pounds, people are concerned for Young's durability. Starting with Young's height concerns, the concerns are that he's going to struggle to see the middle of the field in between his offensive linemen, who are undoubtedly going to be significantly taller than him. This has led to some issues for smaller quarterbacks in the past, as it's affected their visions of throwing windows when targeting receivers over the middle. The concern around Young's size, as mentioned earlier, is his ability to hold up physically through a 17-game regular season, and ideally a full postseason. While I believe these are concerns and something to be cognizant of, these issues are, in my opinion, being projected onto him in a way, as these were not issues that he struggled with at the collegiate level. Bryce Young missed one game due to a shoulder injury, and he took some big hits over the last year, but he showed the ability to get back up, bounce back, and play the next down. I want to show you a couple plays that signify this throughout his 2022 season. On the first play, we see Bryce Young get sandwiched both high and low from 2 different defenders and take a hard fall after a nasty hit. Bryce Young takes his hit, gets up, and he's ready for the next play. On the second play, he gets smoked and driven to the ground by a free blitzing linebacker, and again, Young eats the hit, gets back up, and plays to live another down. Now, I'm not showing you these plays to say, look, Bryce Young's invincible, he can't get hurt. Rather, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to point out that Young isn't quite as fragile as others in the draft community are kind of painting him to be. Obviously, Young's new franchise is not going to want him to be taking hits like this to the next level. However, it's encouraging to see that he can take hits like this in his film, get back up, and be ready to go that next down. There were more hits like this in his film, but these are the two that I pulled to show with you today. For these reasons, I believe his durability concerns are being projected onto him and are not something that I would necessarily hold against him too heavily. Yes, be aware of his size and possible durability concerns down the road, but I don't see these durability concerns being a major hindrance on his development. Moving on to the next aspect of Bryce Young's game that I want to share with you, we'll be looking at Young's pocket presence and movement skills inside and outside of the pocket. The first play I want to share with you also builds off the reason I'm not too concerned with Bryce Young's durability at the next level. On this play, Bryce Young is going to get the snap, and without turning his head, he's going to feel the pressure from this edge turning the corner on his right tackle. He drifts to the left to create space, sees the other edge defender moving with him, and identifies that he has leverage on Young's left tackle. Young then glances back to locate the edge he initially felt at the beginning of the snap. At this point, with nowhere to go with the ball, Young dives forward, giving himself up and protecting himself and his body from a nasty hit and a potential injury. Feel in the pocket is something that a quarterback simply does or does not have. Young has this, and he has it in spades. Young's natural feel and movement skills in the pocket are unmatched in this class, and there are actually other prospects in the class that struggle in this aspect of the game, but this is something that we'll address in their prospect breakdowns later on. On the next play, again, Young is going to get to the back of his drop, and when he moves right, he's going to see that the defensive lineman has won this rep against Young's right guard. Pressure up the middle is the worst kind of pressure for a quarterback because it gives them limited outs. This is why the likes of Aaron Donald are such difference makers for a defense, and why prospects like Jalen Carter are held in such high regard. What do we see from Young in this situation? There's no sign of panic. Young identifies the pressure, hop steps to avoid it while keeping both hands on the ball to secure the ball, dips that shoulder, and elects to take off with his legs. After a moderate gain, Young attempts to slide to protect himself, which you like to see, but he's going to want to work on this slide as it looked unnatural for him and a little bit clunky. He's going to want to work to smoothen that out because at the next level, he's going to want to have a sudden slide to avoid hits like the one he takes on this play. So moving on, I want to show one more play reference Bryce Young's pocket presence. And with this play, I want to show you how he's able to parlay his pocket presence and mobility to turn himself into a plus-level playmaker outside of the structure of the Alabama offense. On this play, Young is going to feel the pressure from his backside and navigate to the right, making a slight climb action. He then feels the other edge coming back inside on this inside counter move. Young now realizes he can escape to his right-hand side and does so. With Young escaping to the right, the edge defender disengages his lineman and runs in Young's direction. Young has his eyes upfield the entire time, constantly scanning for an outlet to get the ball to. He stops his momentum on a dime, regathers himself, and navigates upfield, again keeping his eyes up looking for an outlet rather than limiting himself to becoming a runner. He locates a receiver late in the scramble drill who turned his deep over into what is essentially a dig route and delivers the ball with excellent accuracy. Unfortunately for Young, his receiver is unable to hold on and the ball falls incomplete. On this and the previous plays, Young has shown great natural feel for pressure in the pocket and an understanding of how to maneuver and navigate this pressure that he's presented with. In addition to this, Young does a great job of always keeping his eyes up and scanning downfield rather than bringing his eyes down to pressure and becoming strictly a runner. There will be more instances of this in the clips ahead, but in these clips I'll be focusing on other aspects of Young's game. The next aspect of Young's game that I want to touch on is a bit of a continuation of his pocket presence, but now I want to focus on his mobility and rushing upside. Young is not a superior athlete by any means, but he does have some above average athletic traits like sudden movements in his change of direction. Young is a slightly above average runner, but again, coming back to his size, it's something that he's going to want to use infrequently. To demonstrate Young's level of athleticism, I have two plays that I want to show you. On the first, we will see Young again demonstrate excellent pocket presence and subtle movements to avoid pressure. Young is hot on this play from the right edge. He is unfazed by this pressure and identifies it, climbs the pocket, drops that shoulder with two hands on the ball, and avoids a should-be sack. He then comes back up, realizes his defender has vacated the edge, and that he has a free rushing lane to the right-hand side. He takes this lane and rushes for approximately 20 yards before going out of bounds to protect himself. Like I said, Young isn't a superior athlete or even the best pure athlete in this class, but he's a plenty athlete enough and he shows his ability to scoot on plays like this. The second play is pretty straightforward. It's an RPO in the red zone. Young is going to read the edge defender, see him crash inside to play the run, so he pulls it and rolls to the left to find a target to throw to. Instead, he locates a fairly clear rushing lane for a touchdown and he takes it. Makes a little nifty spin move in space, lunges for the goal line, and scores a touchdown. This play shows the variety of ways that you can use Young, especially in the red zone in the RPO game, as a runner. The next aspect of Young's game that I want to take a look at is his mental processing. As a mental processor, Bryce Young is one of the best in the class. He makes full field reads in an efficient manner and routinely gets to his second, third, fourth reads and all the way back to his check down on multiple occasions. On this play, we're going to be looking at this deep out on the far side of the field. I'll let this play and show you what happens. At the stem of the route, just before the receiver makes his break on this out route, we'll see the defensive back open his hips to the inside of the field, not knowing that the receiver is breaking to the outside and the defender has just taken himself out of position to defend this pass. This is because the time it takes the receiver to make this break is significantly shorter than it's going to take for this defensive back to now have to flip his hips, open to the outside, and break up the pass. Unfortunately for the defender, Young also sees this. This is high-level processing by Bryce Young, and he rips this ball to the far hash nearly right as the defender opens his hips to the center field. Young's ability to translate from identifying the leverage to beginning his throwing motion is incredibly quick, and playing defense against him is a tough task. All right, we're moving on to the next play here. This time we have Bryce Young versus a zero blitz. What this means is that LSU is going to be bringing the house here. We have man-to-man across the board, and essentially LSU is betting that they're going to get home for this sack before Bryce Young is able to process and find an open receiver. All Young needs to do is find the one-on-one matchup that he likes and get the ball out quickly. This is a lot easier said than done, though, versus zero. A lot of quarterbacks struggle in this situation because they don't have the ability to process what is happening right in front of their nose quick enough. Not Bryce Young, though. I'll let this roll, and we're going to see that this running back is going to get out of the backfield and run this little Texas route here. He's going to win in man-to-man, and he's going to be open over the middle. Young's going to see this, get the ball out quickly, and the running back's going to make a big play out of this. This should have been a touchdown, in all honesty, looking back at it, but I guess this running back just doesn't have that kind of juice, which is fine. To each their own. We're not here for him. We're here for Bryce Young. Bryce Young made an exceptional play here and again demonstrated quick, efficient processing. He did everything but score the touchdown for the running back here. This play was very important for me to see in this film because zero gets run a lot in the NFL, and if you aren't prepared for zero, that's how you set yourself back as an offense. Being unprepared for zero gets you into 2nd and 20, a strip sack, or an interception, all of which are detrimental to your offense. With that being said, Bryce Young shows that he's able to operate and process at the same high level versus zero, and this is incredibly important for me to see in this film, and he beats it consistently. On this next play, I want to show you how Bryce Young uses his elite level processing skills to throw his receivers open. Here we have this tight end running a little over-type route, but Bryce Young is going to stop and while off platform, throw this ball with great ball placement to the backside of his receiver to bring him backwards in his route. This is what throwing your receiver open looks like. He leads his receiver away from the defender, all while under pressure in the pocket. This was exceptional playmaking here, and this requires elite level playmaking and processing to execute. On the next couple plays, I'm going to let him play in the background while I speak. I do want to show you that Bryce Young is human. There are instances where he misses opportunities due to something he misses in his processing, but these moments are few and far between, and the good processing far outweighs the misses in his processing. Also, generally in these moments, he still makes great plays, he just makes it far harder on himself than it needed to be. Overall, Bryce Young is one of the better processors to come out of the NFL draft since probably Joe Burrow or Andrew Luck. Next, I want to talk about Bryce Young's accuracy. He is in contention for the most accurate quarterback in the class with another individual who shall remain nameless, CJ Stroud. So I went to show you how accurate of a passer Young is in all quadrants of the field. On this first play, Bryce Young's going to be throwing this ball to this little double move to the near side of the field. He's going to put this ball out there on his receiver's back shoulder with phenomenal ball placement. It's unfortunate the receiver's unable to hold on to this one, but it was a great ball by Bryce Young. On the second play, we'll see Young's plus-level ball placement in the intermediate portions of the field, where the receiver is manned up with the corner in his hip pocket. Again, Young throws this ball with elite-level accuracy and puts this ball where only his tight end can make a play on the ball. All this while on the move, mind you. This is another aspect of his game that's a pleasant surprise to see. The final 4 throws that I want to show you are all reference Young's accuracy to the deeper quadrants of the field. Young has the ability to drop deep throws in the bucket down the field, as you can see from this first clip on this inside release fade. On the second clip, I want to highlight Young's ability to get from the play action to the back of his drop, flip his hips, and make this beautiful deep ball to the back corner of the end zone. I don't know how you throw a better ball than this. My jaw dropped watching this playback. True thing of beauty. The third throw is again another phenomenal placed ball. This time we're going to be throwing the ball over the middle to this straight line post here. The straight line post is going to be crossing the nickel's face. Bryce Young is going to place this ball high up in the air, right where it needs to be. This time it's excellently placed with the defender barreling down on him in the pocket. This is with a guy right in his face, but his accuracy is completely unfazed. The final clip is similar to the first one that we saw with the outside release fade, but it's different. This time we have an outside release go, but it's going to be coupled with double stick concept to the far side of the field. The goal of this concept is going to be to work these sticks to the far side of the field, but Young, just because he can, throws this outside release go to the far side of the field. This is a very difficult throw, but boy does Bryce Young make it look routine. This level of accuracy to all levels of the field is something to be seen. Young, as I mentioned, is one of the most accurate passers in the class, and I do not have any questions around his accuracy in any capacity. Whether that be in the pocket, short, intermediate, deep, on the move, when he's off platform, rolling to the left, or throwing with touch, or even driving the ball. He has every club in the bag for whatever throw needs to be made, and he does so routinely with incredible accuracy. Another aspect of the game where Bryce Young wins is as an anticipatory thrower. I want to show you the level of anticipation that he throws with game after game after game. Anticipatory throws are some of the hardest things to defend as a defensive back. This is because the most separation a receiver ever typically has on any given route is as they're exiting the stem, as the defender is waiting for them to make their move so that they can react. Once they have made their move, then it is all about recovery as a defender. So, knowing this, as a passer, if you're able to get the ball to your receiver as they are coming out of their break, this is when your passes are most likely to lead to completions as opposed to pass breakups. Not every quarterback is capable of throwing with anticipation, as it takes a lot of reps, a lot of mental processing, and you have to have superior level accuracy. Luckily for Bryce Young, he checks all of those boxes. Watching these anticipatory throws on film give me confidence that Bryce Young will win in this facet of the game at the next level. I hope it gives you the same level of confidence after watching these clips. Now I wanted to get into the reason that so many of the mainstream draft media analysts are comparing Bryce Young to a mini version of Pat Mahomes. It's because Bryce Young is an elite playmaker. He might be in the same tier as Pat Mahomes as a playmaker. This is not to say that he is the same prospect as Pat Mahomes, but strictly their abilities to make plays off script is in the same or similar tier. On this first play, Young is hot off the edge. His ability to see this, give a shoulder fake, and free himself to give himself the opportunity to get this ball off is impressive. Let alone the fact that he's able to locate his receiver and hit him right in the hands with all this going on in the backfield. On this next play, Bryce Young is going to get to the back of his drop, feel and see the pressure coming off the right side, and give a shimmy shake to avoid the defender and climb the pocket. While climbing the pocket, he keeps both hands on the ball to ensure he doesn't have an ill-timed fumble. As he approaches the defender at the line of scrimmage, he's going to give a bit of a stutter step, hesitation move to get the defender to break down in space. Then, almost simultaneously, he's locating a receiver coming free directly behind the defender right in front of him. Bryce Young then separates his arm to throw the ball around the defender. The accuracy is a little off and it gets intercepted, but this play was absolutely absurd. Had this been completed for a touchdown, this is honestly the play of the year and probably the play I would have used at the beginning of the video to summarize who Bryce Young is as a player. Even though this was a red zone interception, this is a heck of a play by Bryce Young, and this is why people compare his playmaking abilities to that of Patrick Mahomes. The next play that I'm going to show you is almost identical to the one that I just showed you. This one I found in the Alabama vs. Tennessee game. The major difference is that this one was actually completed for a touchdown, whereas the other was intercepted in the end zone. The next play was also in contention for the best play that summarizes Bryce Young. On this play, Young is going to have nowhere to go with the ball, but he's going to bail out of the pocket a little bit early for my taste. But he's going to keep his eyes up the whole way. While moving left, he locates Jahmyr Gibbs in the end zone. He's going to stop on a dime, flip his hips, get his feet set, and rifle this ball to Gibbs for a touchdown with defenders all around his feet, and he's going to take a hit after the release. Young's elite playmaking ability is what separates him from the others in his class. The level of playmaking he has demonstrated consistently through his time at Alabama translates to the NFL. His ability to make off-script plays and make something out of nothing will be seen early in his career, and depending on where he gets drafted to, it might be needed out of him to keep his team in the game. As far as what concerned me about Bryce Young's game, there wasn't very much. The size, which we already discussed, but also his lack of pure arm talent and his occasional inconsistent mechanics. To touch on the lack of pure arm talent, this is not to say that he doesn't have a strong arm, because he does, but he lacks the pure arm talent to push the ball 60 plus yards downfield when he isn't able to engage his lower half in his mechanics. For example, on this play, Bryce Young is rolling to the right and has to throw a 50 plus yard bomb while on the move. Without hitching and setting his feet, he can't get his lower half as involved in his mechanics as he'd like to. This ball ends up underthrown and intercepted. Again, this isn't to say that he doesn't have the arm talent, because he does. He simply doesn't have the pure arm talent to generate the velocity and the arm power to force the ball 50 plus yards down the field without being able to engage his lower half. As for what I mentioned about his mechanics, there are times he's inconsistent in his lower half mechanics, specifically with his footwork. What I mean by this is that there's times that he gets very toesy in the pocket during his throw. This changes a lot for you as a passer and generally leads to inconsistent accuracy. This was the case for Young when he threw from his toes, as evident in the clips that I've provided in the video. These inaccurate throws are not Bryce Young. These are byproducts of what I'm going to call mental lapses when it comes to his footwork. I think this will be corrected by him in the NFL, and this will be a non-issue for him going forward. After sharing all my thoughts on Bryce Young with you, the good and the bad, I want to wrap this up by reiterating that Bryce Young is currently my quarterback 1 in the 2023 NFL draft class. I would confidently be taking him in the top 2 picks as my franchise cornerstone for the position for years to come. With that being said, I have completed my evaluations of Young, and I have come out with a 94.6 overall grade, which grades out as an early first-round pick for me. My player comparison is tricky, as I do not think there is an easy one-for-one comparison for him. With that being said, I have a fun comparison for you. Think back when you were a kid. It's Halloween time, and you're going door to door to get candy. Everyone's giving out the fun-sized mini Snickers, mini Reese's, and all your favorite candies. They were never the full-sized ones, but they were always the same candy, and they were just as good. It was just a bummer they weren't the full-size candy bars, right? Well, my comparison for Bryce Young is a fun-size Andrew Luck. If you took Bryce Young and you put him in an Andrew Luck type frame, I believe we're looking at nearly identical prospects. The only thing that does not match the two is the size and frame. As for Bryce Young's ideal landing spot, I believe the Houston Texans are the best destination for Bryce Young. He fits the West Coast style scheme best, and I expect him to be selected in the early first round. With that being said, those are my thoughts on him. You tell me what you're thinking. Is Bryce Young your quarterback 1? If not, tell me who is. Tell me in the comments. That's all for the video today. I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.